Good morning, magandang umaga, and welcome to today's episode of My PI Dream. Today is Saturday, and build day. Let's see, build day. I have to look and see what the build day is. I think we were on 3:15, but as you know, the last couple of days I have been out of commission. I spent a couple of days inside the hospital with a couple of kidney stones that are still inside my kidneys. But they're giving me medication to help dissolve that, and eventually they should go away. I've gotten past that stage. I am back here on the build site again, and I thank you for all of those who had really nice comments and concerns about my absence. So we are going to get started today. The last couple of days that I was gone and out of commission, let me give you an update on some of the stuff that was done while we were gone. All of the deck railing, all the way around, all the deck railing, every spot except for, and it just got done this morning. It was a little end cap that had to be done there. The only thing that closes out the full commissioning of all the deck railing is you see these center supports that we have down here to provide the support, so we have no flexibility with no bending, no arching of any of the fencing material itself. We still haven't done it in about half of the deck railing, which is getting done today. That's what our carpenter is doing right now. He is taking care of that. And the only other people we have, our other two carpenters, the two of the three, they're out. Remember, one was on vacation, was supposed to return yesterday, did not return yesterday. Big surprise there. And his brother, the other carpenter, he left half day yesterday, went up to Manila for I don't know why, but he is also out and he won't be back until Monday. So we only have one carpenter that's working over there right now. The rest of the crew that we have here is we have 4 painters, 4 finishers, 4 sanders, and that's what's being done. And what they're working on right now is, I will show you later on, down in the basement. While I was gone, we took delivery of those garage doors, and they are doing the sanding of that right now, and we are doing some of the final painting of some of the interior walls, so they can move on. It's basically in a touch-up mode for a lot of the stuff. It's a very finishing area of some of the painting. We are short on paint. I requested that my contractor pick up some paint and bring some of the paint, particularly for the dining room here. You can see they got the crown molding in while crown molding got installed, and we ran out of this paint. Remember, this doesn't match this paint over here because we're at the end of the bucket, and I did a request for my builder to pick up some more of that. Excuse me, my head's kind of stopped up right now. I think it's from some of the medications that they gave me at the hospital. It gives you stuffy head and things like that, and crazy. Anyway, so and also the outside paint color out here for some of the touch-up. We need that paint as well. So he said he would pick that up. Another big thing on the news front is the person that we are possibly, or the family that we're possibly commissioning to do all the fencing material. They sent an example of what they did. One section we're basically, if it's good, we're going to award the contract for them to do all the gates and all the fencing material, as well as the stairway material. And they're bringing that one item in today. So that will be a very nice touch for today. Looking at that, it'll be finished painted, and they will do the install on one segment somewhere, wherever that one goes. So that will be an exciting move forward today that you haven't seen done on any of the builds so far. But anyway, I babbled and babbled. I think I've babbled so much because I've been in the hospital for 2 days and I haven't had anybody to talk to, well, except for my wife inside there. But I haven't been able to express myself for the last couple of days. So let's go ahead and get today started. So without further delay, let's get today's video underway. So first thing off this morning, I have to run down to our local hardware store that's outside, maybe a kilometer away from here, and pick up some more of the 2-inch screws that my carpenter is using to secure some of the deck railing material. He said he only needs 20 to finish the project up. I'm going to get 50 in the event something else comes up, or I want to use it for another project. And I'm going to probably need more because I'm using the leftover portions of all the deck railing material, and I'm going to use that to build up the area around the cistern for where we're going to install our pumps. And I don't like using the manhole cover that they have over there. We are going to use the new wood decking material to build our own manhole cover that I can actually open up, and not a 2-ton piece of manhole concrete that it takes 4 men to lift out. It's just impractical. By the way, Hapone got a bath this morning. Hapone, you want to tell everybody how happy you are that you have a bath and you're not itching from fleas and all? Yes, I'm so happy now that I'm so clean. So he's happy, as you can see. And Marianne is the next one in line to get her bath. So let's go ahead and run and go get those screws and get back here and do some work around for the Feliz. Let's talk a little bit about our garage doors that we received while I was in the hospital. These are Yakal wood, and they're beautiful. The wood is absolutely beautiful. But the carpenters that came out and did the measurement, and they measured the opening of our garage door opening. And normally what you do for these type of doors, you use the same approach that you would do with the French doors that we have up on the second floor. And the French doors have it where you extend about, well, I don't know, about 5 centimeters on both sides, and you cut an L inside there so they make a connection and they seal the 2 doors together. One overlaps the other. Now the people that came down and did the measurements for these 2 doors, they measured the opening of this and they made 2 doors that would fit in between there with no overlap. So that is going to present a problem. It's not a problem that can be overcome, but it's not what we wanted, and it's not the finished look, which it should have been, where this part of this door right here, we would cut an angle out of this one, and it would match up with this door here that would have a notch cut out, and they would overlap each other. I can't do it with one hand here to show you an example, but it's the same way that we did the French doors upstairs. So what we did is we called up the company that manufactured, that actually built the doors for us, and we asked them to send their carpenter out and see why did they do it like this, because they did all of the measurement. We depended on them to be able to build the doors that would fit properly inside the doorway. Now there are some solutions, and some of them are ugly solutions, but it has to be, the only thing that we can do is on this point right here, the inside, the very center, because remember, the entire door is measured for the arch. So from the hinge point to the center, that can't be changed. But what they might can do, and I don't know if that's how they're going to do the approach, is they can add a piece. They can add 5 centimeters onto here. Again, that would be ugly because we would have a seam here, but they could add 5 centimeters on this section, 5 centimeters on that. They could bolt it in, seal it, and get a nice tight finish like this right here. And then they could, our carpenters could cut the L connection between this one and that one, and that would work. I don't know what their solution is going to be. We're going to wait for them to come out, but we've scheduled an appointment for their carpenter to come out. While we have time today, since we have almost, we have, what I say, 5 people, 4 finishing people, and one of the finishing people is doing nothing but cooking right now. And we have a couple of people that are, a couple of finishers that are painting, and we have one that's down here sanding, plus we have our carpenter working on the deck railing, finishing that up. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take the opportunity today to talk about healthcare in the Philippines, since it's fresh on my mind, and I was just released from the hospital yesterday. And I will speak about my experience at a local hospital here in the Philippines and how we did our payment method. And it's food for thought, and we'll talk about that maybe at lunchtime today. Well, it's been quite some time since we've had a Bahay Kubo Time session here at Feliz, and it's a little bit of a breezy day today. The echo is bad inside the house. Walking around the yard or being on a patio, I believe the wind blowing in the background will cause problems with the... hey, how are you? You want to come sit up here with me? I believe the wind would wreak havoc with the microphone on the GoPro. What I want to talk about today, though, is my experience over the last couple of days in the hospital. I haven't been able to share my experiences with healthcare system in the Philippines because I haven't had but one experience, and it wasn't my own experience before. It was one of my family members. So what I'd like to do, I would like to share my experience and let you make your own opinion on what you think the healthcare system. Of course, in the Philippines, they have health insurance, and they have hospitals just like we do in anywhere around the world, like my home in the United States. And they have affordable health care system, but affordable means actually means it's affordable for you to pay, but the benefits that you receive from them, like the Philippine health, you might not reap so many benefits from it. It might adjust the cost of some of your hospitalization and your medical a little bit, but you're going to end up paying a lot from that. I don't have experience with the healthcare system inside the Philippines as far as health insurance goes, but if anybody else does, it would be great for them to chime in this forum that we're doing today in the Bahay Kubo session. Well, let's get back to where I was starting, the direction I was going. So I had a health issue, as many of you know, who have been wondering why my episodes haven't been posted. Let's talk about the event that led to my experience inside the hospital. A couple of nights ago, I experienced some severe pain in my lower abdomen, and it was extremely painful. And I started getting some hot and cold sweats and nausea from the pain, and things like that. So I knew there was something wrong. I tried to sleep overnight and I couldn't get any sleep. The pain was bad, but during the nighttime the pain shifted from my front abdomen to the back by my kidney area. I've had a family member who had a kidney stone before, and all of the symptoms that I was exhibiting were the same symptoms that my family member had. So I was very familiar with those symptoms, and I'm like, oh, I think I might have a kidney stone. So I didn't sleep all night long. The next morning, about 4:30 in the morning, my wife and I decided, well, we need to go to the emergency room because it was just unbearable. The pain was unbearable, and there was nothing that we could do to shift the pain into a comfortable position. So anyway, we went to the hospital the first thing in the morning. We went to the emergency room, directly to the emergency room. Now here's where I'm going to start doing my parallels between my experiences in the U.S. and my experiences in the Philippines. And let me give you a secondary background that we're going to do the comparison with. My wife, Ness, she went to an emergency room in the United States for some of the same type of symptoms that I had. And I'll compare how she was treated, results that we got there, and how I was treated in the Philippine hospital and the results that I had here. So anyway, for me, we'll start out. I went to the hospital, into the emergency room. The first thing that they did is, of course, they go in and they ask you all the questions that you have inside, and you know, all your conditions. Is your pain level on a scale of 1 to 10, such things like that, and all of the symptoms that you're exhibiting. And I did, and the conclusion by the attending physician was that it's possible that there is you do have a kidney stone, but they had to run some tests. They had to do a urinalysis, and if the urinalysis came back with certain indications, and they would do this next thing, which would be a CT scan, which is basically this. You go inside this long tube, for those of you who don't know what a CT scan is, and they run this thing around. It's a bunch of x-rays that they do that segment all parts of your body, internal of your body. Difference between a CT scan and MRI, one is magnetic, one is x-rays, and they actually look for different kind of things usually inside the body. But for this, the CT scan was more than adequate for sensing any type of thing similar to a kidney stone. But before they could do that, they had to run tests on me, and they ran tests. But one of the first things that they did when I got inside there is they worked on relieving the pain, because the pain was unbearable. I was bent over. I was to the point where tears were coming out of my eyes, and they took care of my pain right away. And then they worked on the secondary item, was trying to find the reason for all the pain. So anyway, in a matter of about 30 minutes after being admitted to the hospital, and let me say this also, we weren't filling out tons and tons of pieces of paperwork for health insurance and all those kinds of things. They took care of the problem right away, and then my wife attended to filling out some of the paperwork that they needed for whatever they needed, of course, for payment. We didn't wait a long time. They went ahead and attended to my pain right away. Then they collected all this information. They contacted the physician. As a matter of fact, the physician was the son of the owner of the hospital. Then after the attending physician spoke with the primary doctor of the building, they went ahead and ran a CT scan on me, and then they put me in a private room inside. And the private room isn't unlike private rooms inside my home country, the United States. Again, it wasn't as fancy as a lot of things with technology. It's an older hospital, but it had everything we needed. It had a bed, it had a bathroom, a CR, it had a television inside. It had, if you needed somebody from the nurses station, you could contact the nurses station. So that was my experience being admitted into an emergency room, and then having tests done, and then being moved into a private room. While in the private room, they continued to medicate me with pain relieving until everything came in, and they could prescribe a recommended treatment, which I found out about, it was about midnight, around midnight or 12:30 in the morning. The doctor came in with all the results from the CT scan, and he showed me, he brought them right up to me, and you could see it was obvious. In one of my previous careers, one of the things I had to do was read x-ray film, and when the doctor brought up the x-ray film to me and he pointed out the kidney stone, kidney stones, there was one in each kidney, it was obvious. I could tell right away that there was a foreign object inside there, and that was the cause of all my pain and suffering. Again, the doctor decided, he said there are a couple types of protocols, the bedside manner was wonderful. The explanation was very easy to understand, and then he explained to me, well, we could do one of two courses of protocol. There's a European protocol, and there's a protocol that's used in the United States. And he said, since you're from the United States and you will be going back to the United States, you can bring all the stuff back with you, and we'll go ahead and go with the U.S. protocol. So he gave me the option, at least, for what protocol we want to treat the kidney stones, to try to get them broken down and dissolved. So we went through all of that. And then I'm going to try to make this short. This was a long story right here, but I'm going to try to make it short. So basically, I went in, they attended to my needs, which was the pain at first. They did the testing. And then they prescribed the correct type of medication for me to continue alleviating the pain, for me to start dissolving the kidney stone, and for to take care of the problem that I had. And all these were, I thought, were the appropriate things. And it's the same thing I would expect in a U.S. hospital. So there is no difference in that. So let's get to the bottom line here. A lot of the bottom line that most people are going to ask, what did it cost you? How did you pay for it? Well, let's go ahead and speak about that just a little bit. So, when we were done and we were getting to the point, so I was in the hospital for a day and a half. I was discharged on the second day, and but when you go to pay for your bill, so the bill for the it was the room, it was for the emergency room visit, it was for the CT scan, It was for, I think I said all the medications inside there. It's for the attendants, the nurses, everything. So you got to realize for a day and a half of inpatient, which is, you might as well equate that to a 2-day period. The whole bill that we had inside there ended up being, in US dollars, I think it ended up being around, right around 500 US dollars. I think the final bill was around 22,000 pesos. So I was excited about that because I know what it costs in the U.S. to do the same type of items that they did inside this, and even a CT scan alone. I don't know what they charged us for the CT scan. I would have to look at the itemization. But I believe a CT scan alone in the U.S. is the equivalent of between around, I think it's around 1,200 and 4,000 US dollars, 1,200 and 4,000 US dollars alone just for one CT scan. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think that's the average. So let's go ahead and do a comparison. Let's do a comparison and go back and talk about what my wife went through on a very similar incident. So we're going to talk about several years back. My wife exhibited the same exact thing that I had. She had pain in her lower abdomen, sharp, intense pain, excruciating pain that was making her unpleasant, and she was vomiting, throwing up, and it was so bad that we went straight to our physician. We have a healthcare provider in the U.S., not a hospital, but we went directly to our healthcare provider because in the U.S. most of the time, with the type of insurance that we had, normally you go to your healthcare provider. Then if you have to go to emergency, unless you go directly to an emergency room where you feel it's so bad, most of the time they want you to go to your healthcare provider. So we used the protocol by our insurance. We went to the healthcare provider. We sat in an office forever. And I said, forever. When you're in pain, 1 hour is forever when you're in the type of excruciating pain that my wife was in. Then at the point, and then they did not admit any type of medication for her inside that, and they could have, but they said they wanted to have some tests run on her, which was, they said they wanted to do an MRI at that point, an MRI that we talked about earlier. And so we had to leave that office. They admitted nothing, no pain relief medicine there. Then they sent us to a clinic or hospital. It was a clinic within a hospital. And we went to there, and they did the MRI, still not giving her any pain medication. So we're probably about 3 hours, and I'm not telling you how long that we sat there inside the hospital waiting while she was in pain. And she, as a matter of fact, she threw up inside the hospital, all over the floor. She made a mess inside there, but they didn't relieve the pain there. Then they did the MRI. Then they sent us home, still without any pain medication. So she went home. She suffered the entire time. We're waiting on the results. We're calling the office, and they're saying, no, they don't have the results and don't have the results. So this is at the end of the day. So this is like 4 o'clock in the afternoon. We have no results. We went back to the original doctor's office, and they said, no, they still don't have the results from that. And I said, you know what? My wife is in so much pain. This is ridiculous. I said, we need to get her to, we need to relieve the pain. What can we do? We need to go to an emergency room. So they said, well, you can go to the emergency room. I said, well, before I can go to an emergency room, you have to authorize it based on the insurance coverage that we have. And they said, oh, if it's an emergency, you can go. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. We don't have to communicate with them. It will be okay. We took them at their word for it. That we went to the emergency room, and by the time we got to the emergency room, I think that was around 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock in the evening. And they put inside the emergency room. They then, in the emergency room, one of the first things they did there was administered a pain medication through an IV with her inside there. So she had already suffered about 12 hours already with this intense pain. But they finally did that. Then they called up the clinic that did the MRI, and when they said they had the results, and the results on the MRI was they couldn't find anything. So we went back there. So they went ahead in the emergency room. They went ahead and prescribed antibiotics, and I think that's all they ended up giving her. And I believe they might have given her some pain medication to take back home with her, and then they released her. that was the end with the pain medication. That, and it all ended up being, they think, or we think, she had food poisoning. So that's what we thought. But there was nothing conclusive. We never got any conclusive information from the hospital. So that was our experience with a U.S. Physician, our physician. That was our experience with a U.S. Clinic and an emergency room. Now let me give you our experience with the cost. Remember, it cost me, and she never did, first of all, I want to go back. She never, everything she did was outpatient. There was no inpatient. Everything was outpatient. I did inpatient, stayed overnight, did all the things, $500 US plus or minus. We received the bill from everybody, from our doctor, from the emergency room, and from the clinic for the MRI. Our total cost out of pocket was over $5,000 US for that experience that I just explained. 10 times the cost that we had here, and still no conclusive evidence why indeed what caused the problem to begin with. So you be the judge. You decide. You know, when people are saying, "Oh, I'm so worried about the healthcare system inside the Philippines," I will tell you right now, my experience for this indication, for this symptom, it was very good. My opinion is, people ask me about paying for health insurance and things like that. Let me tell you what I will probably be doing and what I hear from many expats do inside the Philippines. They pay on a as-visit basis what they need when they need health care, because the health care it's adequate, if not more than adequate, and it's affordable. Now, if you take that into consideration, you take somebody who pays $200 or $300 a month in health care benefits, and you take that and you put that aside, your own money aside, and you build your own health care program, and on an as-needed basis, you use that for paying for your hospital stays or any of your medical needs while you're inside the Philippines. That is an option. It's not an option for everybody. I would say that is an option for those of you and myself who are not in their 80s or 90s or in good health, and you don't anticipate any type of a catastrophic type of event that where it would cost a lot of money. You have to be the judge of your own medical needs. Again, if you are someone who's more elderly, someone who has pre-existing conditions, then you have to look into other health insurance programs. I believe that would be my recommendation. But what we are going to continue to do is what we did this time around. We are going to rely on the private hospitals here and pay on an as-needed basis. Well, anyway, that ended up being a long story. But that was my experience, and that's one experience that you can take when you're formulating your strategy for healthcare here in the Philippines. Again, don't use just that one. Talk with other people. Find out what other people do. It's a common sense approach. And again, evaluate your own medical needs and long-term goals. So that is our Bahay Kubo session for today. And let's get back to construction. So anyway, it's like 4:30, 4:40, something like that, and our fence people are here. They're going to install. Oh, you hush. So anyway, our first test rail system is here for the fence line. Well, this is take two. I don't know if the first take went through, just in case, because it was really windy when our ironworks people came here. They are installing our first. What I did on our agreement with each other, I asked them for us to award the contract with them. They bring out one sample. If we're happy with that one sample of the fence that goes inside there, and I already am, it's a beautiful piece of fence. But if we're happy with that, then we're going to commission them to do all the fencing and the gate work, and the railing for the stairs inside the house, and the same railing that's going to also go up on the second floor for the platform underneath the guardrail. Alright, well, this is our first test sample and I like it. They have to come back tomorrow and they were going to do a touch-up of these areas where they just embedded into the concrete. And remember, we're also putting in decorative stonework that goes around all the outside of this, and that will end up covering up this portion where the mounting screws are. So that will be underneath concrete as well. But I think it's good. It's simple, it's yet elegant, and also it has the security features of having these little spikes on the top as well. So I think it's a very good design. And the nice thing is it doesn't take away from the view of the house and the yard. So I think we're there where we want to be. Well, we're going to close for today. Ness and I actually have to go do some grocery shopping. And we got to go pick up some stuff at the grocery shopping that we got to do. So that's where we're going to head out for now. I don't think there's anything else that we need to cover. We're not going to go inside the house today and cover the stuff that was done. Remember, we only just had a few people working today. A little bit of sanding on the garage door, a little bit of painting in the yellow paint, doing touch-up paint inside the stairwell area, and then our carpenter finished doing all of the deck railing. I think we're 100% on the deck railing. So Monday we should take on a new shape of construction here. I'm hoping Monday we have all three of our carpenters here, and eventually sometime we're going to have to get our masons in. Our mason has to start doing the top of the retaining wall. What else do they have to do inside there? Oh, and our carpenters also have to start doing the floor, finish the floor in the basement so that they can install the garage doors. Now, that being said, the garage doors, that's another thing. We're going to have to deal with that correction to be able to make that work. We'll find some solution with that. Hopefully the folks from Lamar is our wood shop that provides all of our wood for specific doors here in the house. Custom. They are our custom woodworkers, and hopefully they come out and they have a solution and they can tell us what they're going to do for us on that. So that's it for us for the weekend. Tomorrow is Sunday. Tomorrow we have an 8-hour scheduled brownout. We have no electricity here. So that being said, we might actually go do some shopping. Oh, there's the wind. Gotta wait for the wind. Oh, the wind. Stop wind. Stop wind. So with that 8-hour brownout, there's nothing to do here. I can't turn my generator on yet because the generator doesn't have an exhaust port that takes it to the outside of the house yet. I wish we did, then we could have electricity all day long when there's a normal brownout. Eventually one day we'll get to that. So we're going to close for now. If you enjoyed today's video, please give us a thumbs up. Please share, and if you have not subscribed, just click on that little My PI Dream heart at the bottom right hand side of your screen. You'll be subscribed and you'll be notified next time we upload a new video. So until tomorrow or Monday, you have a wonderful and blessed weekend.
Bye-bye.